That's a great line to hear coming out.
Hey, hold that right there. This is Pete Koch. I'm breaking it down with Clint Carmichael. Don't go away. But hey guys, Pete Koch. I'm here breaking it down with old friend Clint Carmichael. He's that rarest of thing. He's a working, and I mean working, actor, all the time, busy. He's got more than 100 Hollywood credits to his name. He's been in the racket a long, long time. I looked him up just to refresh my memory of all the things that he's done on IMDb. And you know, you and I have shared a couple of the same shows going way back, because I was on the sidelines for 15 years. But Pacific Blue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fun show. In fact, I was just at a party at Patrick Warburton's house, and Paula Trickey was there, and we were having a conversation. And that's actually a place you should have been. I saw Lou Ferrigno and a bunch of good faces. It was fun.
That's good to hear. I think that Patrick Warburton, I've had the chance, I don't know if he'd remember me, I played around the golf with him, and a mutual friend is Greg Wrangler.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a buddy as well.
Yeah, and an actor and one of them guys. But all these years, it started for you, and I just want to give our folks a little bit of a chance to understand where it came from. And I guess you started acting, and your training and your background is really considerable. And it was at the University of San Francisco you studied?
I was majoring in film at San Francisco State. That was the beginning for me. And because I'm from LA, when I was in film school, I decided I want to pursue acting. Was a first love. I was thinking about trying to make movies, but it was like, gosh, directing and writing, there's so many elements to it. Maybe focus on one thing that was like a first love. And so I had to admit acting was a first love. And in the world that I came from, which was kind of jock world, that was
a swimmer.
I was a swimmer, a little bit of football, and also freestyle skiing. When it was right in the kind of the birth of extreme sports. And for my group, which was basically ex-jocks, you didn't even want to admit you wanted to be an actor. It was like saying, why do you think you're so cool, or you think you're cute, or whatever, and for me it was like, no, you want to tell a story. If you kind of love storytelling and you love TV shows and movies, you get enthralled with it. That was the beginning.
You came back to LA. You're an LA guy. You come back, you study with, and I remember this in the 80s, the hottest, outside of probably Stella Adler, the hottest, I think, acting coach you could probably get with was Milton Costellas.
Yeah, he was the guy. He was the man back then.
What was that experience like?
It was a lot of fun, and it was great because you'd go into classes, there would be like 60 people, and kind of like Stella, who came in as the grande dame, Milton was a guru, very famous, had been a successful director. There were a lot of stars in class, and he swept into the room with some drama to a big applause, took his seat, and the class began. But there was a lot of great people that studied there. George Clooney was there. There's so many. Alec Baldwin was in and out during the same period of time. A lot of great people.
That must have been quite an experience.
It was. You'd watch scenes that were as good as anything you'd see in a theater.
And what was his particular style or technique that he was teaching?
Well, his whole thing, Stella was from the group. Milton always talked about moment to moment, and but we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Milton was also a Scientologist. And as a Scientologist, it's not that he, certainly in my experience there, talked openly about it, but he had a book that was his kind of Bible of acting. And the way that he taught was you would do a scene, and then you'd sit down and you'd talk about how you felt about it, and then he would talk to you about it very much like a director, but it was dissecting a scene, and it came from the point of really what you were trying to accomplish, and then how much of that you thought you were successful at. And however people want to talk about acting, whether it's Stanislavski or English traditions, which are from the outside in, American tradition is from the inside out, the whole point is, how do you get to an authentic moment in a contrived experience? I thought one of the greatest lines I ever heard about acting was credited to Warren Beatty, and it was, "What is acting? It's conscious unconsciousness." Because what we do in front of a camera, a lot of crew, tons of distraction, all sorts of people, and how do you create this authentic, very often intimate moment? And so Milt was about moment to moment is how he talked about it. And it was about trying to create an environment where you would really be free. It was great. You'd see terrific work, but it was also, acting coaches are kind of crazy, and there was a certain amount of drama there, and it certainly was a little bit crazy as well.
You know what catches my attention? The first word I think out of your mouth when I asked you about Milton Costello was you said it was fun. And there's a lot of acting coaches out there and a lot of classes that are not fun at all. And why in the hell did we get into acting if we didn't want to have some fun along the way? Why did we ever aspire to do anything passionately, like me playing football and working my way up to the NFL? It was fun.
Right.
It was hard work during the way, but you worked towards a goal, and then there was win or lose. I can't think of a game in my life, or a practice for that matter, that at some point I was blessed with really good coaches, but particularly a coach that I had in high school, and he made going to practice. It was two things that I was positive about. It was a guy named we called Mr. G. He was this famous coach in Long Island, Nassau County, New York, and he was two things that were guaranteed is that you were going to compete and you're going to work very, very hard in that practice. And the second thing was, I guarantee every single day you would laugh. He sort of insisted that we laugh. He was funny as hell. And that combination, I didn't have the wisdom to really understand it then, but it was extremely powerful. And he's the winningest coach, I think, in high school in Nassau County history. And looking back on it, I'm like, he had a really magical formula. Without the laughter, we wouldn't have been able to work that hard. There's a saying like in the very best horror movies out there, there's moments of
lightness. Has to be. Yeah.
I think it's the same way. And to hear that you talk about Milton Costello's legendary coach, and say you had some fun along the way, I mean, it sounds like he laid such an important bit of framework for your acting that you carried on till today.
Yeah, it was great training, and also I'm sure like your coach too that you're talking about had lightness. Also, man, when he brought the hammer down, it was heavy duty, and that was also, I think, important in a way. It's serious business. People have to step up. Milton had a way of really humbling people if they were not prepared, and that it's. I think there's a sports connection here because Milton loved athletes, and one of the reasons why he loved athletes is he kind of felt just in general athletes understood rehearsal, practice, and being prepared and working hard. And if there's one kind of rap in general you could lay on actors, is actors, as kind of a group tend to be a little bit unfocused. It's almost like the artistic mentality, fly by the seat of their pants, looking for inspiration. I think it takes artists a while to understand that skill and training and hard work is such a core part of what being an artist is. If you're playing piano, nobody doubts that you have to put hours and hours in to play beautifully. But acting is a little bit different. We're talking about replicating human behavior. We all have behavior. How to make a scene look natural. It's one of those things that can look invisible when it's done well, but as you well know, it's a skill. And especially it's a skill when you're talking about doing it with a lot of moving pieces, and whether the staging's action or whether it's simple, whether it's cameras and people walking in and out of a house and space. How do you make that? How do you create an artificial situation and make it look totally real? I got to ask you, man, since we're on camera, I don't know if you've been asked this before, but you've been directed by Clint Eastwood.
Yes.
Man, what I wouldn't give to be directed by Clint Eastwood. What was that like? I mean, I always hear these stories. He's quiet. Things start and end, and people aren't even sure, are we rolling?
Yes, so the set is peaceful and it's organized, and nobody has to say quiet or quiet on the set. It just happens. And I found the reason that happens is through the process of the hiring, the team that he's arrived at. And when I worked with him, it's the Heartbreak Ridge, it's 30 years ago now, but nonetheless, he had for example, his costume designer was from the days of Rawhide, and
wow.
And so and the lighting people and the grips and the camera people, they were all hand-picked to work with him, and they had a whole sense and a vibe and an energy that was unspoken when it came to the set. Secondly, I never heard him say action or cut. I heard him say begin or now, and then he'd say that's it or thank you. when it was over.
Did he ever say why he does it that way?
Yeah, yes, because there's a certain inherent. It's inherent that us actors must fight off that anxiety that comes with all that's going on, and that is behind the camera that we can't see, but it's all the people standing there and the stressors that you're unaware of as an audience, but it could be extremely hot or uncomfortable or buggy or some special effects has just gone off and it's kind of smoky, or all these things that you're dealing with. The audience shouldn't know about that, but there's these sort of external stressors to the actor. So we've already got that going against us, you might say. So he says, why in the world would I add to that anxiety by saying, action? That doesn't make any damn sense.
No, right. If we're not keyed up enough, let's just put some extra juice on it.
Yeah, and by the way,
such wisdom. I mean, more guys should do it. I don't know why they don't.
Yeah, but
he's rare in that.
But if it's a really calm scene, right? He'd say, "Go ahead." But if it is an action scene, he'll say, "Go." You know, he's bringing the appropriate energy and word to it. It's just thoughtful. It does seem like such great common sense, and I don't know how many people have adopted his style, but it's absolutely terrific, and it was something I was unfamiliar with it. I was an inexperienced actor, but I got there and I forever took that experience with me, and I said, this makes so much darn sense to me.
Yeah. It's interesting being an actor first and coming to directing, and he'd worked so much. He just really, I mean, what an organic way to work. You know, there are a lot of, I mean, there's not that there's so many actors that are good directors, but I think it is a good way to approach it. Not surprised when guys are successful.
One other story, we had and I think it speaks to Clint Eastwood and his management of the set and an understanding of the sort of the tension that's inherent to filmmaking, and he wants to reduce that as well as that he can. We're over there shooting Heartbreak Ridge, and we're shooting a scene that takes. We're shooting in Vieques, which is a small island off the coast of Puerto Rico that's sort of doubling as Grenada, right? It's a battle scene. And there's a technical problem, and that is the camera broke, and I think the backup camera broke, and we got a problem, and there's no getting around the fact that it's going to take a couple hours to resolve the scene. It's we've got 150 extras on top of the cast. We're in an abandoned schoolhouse. It's very hot, very humid. There's no air conditioning, and we just got to deal with this for a couple hours. Out of 5 minutes, 10 minutes into this just abject boredom and everyone just kind of miserable, we hear some piano music coming in. There was a stand-up piano placed in the corners, out of tune, slightly out of tune, that Clint had walked over to and just began to serenade everybody. Everybody organically sort of began to move around him, and he created just this community there, and played for a couple hours while we waited. The camera equipment finally shows up. All right, back to work, and off we go. Wow! But he just kept the set. What a thrill that was!
Yeah. No, man, special. Oh, many of us are jealous of that, man. That story.
It was quite an experience. Some of my questions for you. Favorite film?
Oh gosh, I mean, like favorite film all time.
Yeah.
Hey man, there's so many favorite films. You know, everything from going back way in the beginning to like Errol Flynn, you know, The Seahawk and Robin Hood and stuff like that, to John Boorman. I was in high school when I saw Deliverance.
Oh, yeah.
And that was kind of life-changing. And I thought, you know, this is storytelling. It was also men, a group of strong men. John Boorman, a tremendous English director. Burt Reynolds, John Voight, some of the best work they've ever done. Ned Beatty, Ronnie Cox, great stuff. A guy's story, told in a powerful way. You know, that was powerful. And then right at the time when I was in film school, Altered States, William Hurt. All of a sudden, special effects coming into a place, playing with reality in a different way. So, I mean, I love David Lean, and I mean, I love classics and the Golden Age and the 70s and Martin Scorsese. So when you say, gosh, a favorite movie, man, there's so many great movies.
I like that list.
Waterfront is one of my favorites.
That's a great start. Yeah. I got to say, years ago when I was studying with Rick Walters, theater craft in Hollywood, and it was thrilling to study with him. And then one of the actors that we had these regular group of veteran actors that used to kind of drift in and out of class. They would take different classes.
Right.
And I worked with Bill McKinney. Bill McKinney was a character actor that said,
Deliverance, nobody forgets him, man. Yeah.
Squeal like a pig. And he was in several Clint Eastwood movies also. And
right. How about Josie Whale? He was the lead heavy.
Yeah, at the Red Leggers.
Yeah.
So terrific guy, just humble and just really committed, and he's very generous when you were working with him in the scene. Anyway, so give me a favorite actor.
Favorite actor. Best actor to me all time is Marlon Brando. But I mean, I'm a big fan of Clint Eastwood. I'm a big fan of John Wayne. So it's kind of what you're talking about. I mean, Cary Grant, if you're talking about somebody who's debonair, and Tom Hanks, if you're talking about somebody who's like kind of the current state of the art, can kind of do anything.
Yeah, I'm starting to ask this question on a more regular basis to my actor friends, and so Tom Hanks is coming up quite a bit.
You got to respect him. I mean, he's done so much good work. Part of it for me is when you talk about actors, Denzel Washington pops up right now, partly because he's done so much great work, but you think back when you were first touched by an actor or moved by an actor, which is kind of how I think about it. Marlon Brando in Last Tango in Paris, to me, one of the bravest performances I've ever seen by an actor still. Denzel Washington in Glory, one of the most powerful moments I've ever seen on film by any actor in any role. Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump, Degree of Difficulty, amazing. And even recently with the nomination, what was the one where he's the shipboard captain that was
Captain Phillips?
Captain Phillips. Again, where you're just like in a role where I wasn't expecting to be wowed by a performance. I was absolutely wowed. He's amazing. He's an amazing actor.
And I'm interested to see what's coming up. Is
Sully. He's going to do
directed by Clint Eastwood.
Oh man,
yeah,
that'll be good.
Yeah, it should be something to look forward to.
Yeah.
You've worked with a lot of interesting people, big name people over the years. Again, with all your television and film credits, who's a favorite or standout co-star? Someone you've shared the screen with?
A lot of guys, that are good guys that maybe were a little bit surprising, or I was catching them at a time where I know, like we were talking a little bit about this earlier, that there's people that can disappoint you, that you kind of heroes, or even just people whose work you admire. Then you actually work with them. They're not the most pleasant people. And then you've got stories like with Clint Eastwood, where it was, the guy was awesome on set and all of that. I did the last episode of Magnum PI, and that was the first time I actually worked a show and was going to be there long enough with a TV star at the absolute top of the game in the most popular show in a period of time where the world cared about it the most. It was really interesting to see. And Tom Selleck was a great guy. A brief story of to me, like some of his humanity. He was kind of like what you were talking about, Clint Eastwood on set. Tom Selleck had a theory about, he was kind of trained or came up under the influence of James Garner, a great actor who had a lot to say about it comes from the top down, and the stars are the people responsible for creating an environment that's really positive.
Well, he played Lance White.
He did in Rockford Files, which is one of the things that really kind of got a lot of TV people understand how to use him.
And that was what, Don Belisario?
Don Belisario, yeah.
Larson.
Those guys. And so they get Magnum. So here's the last episode, and Tom Selleck is definitely accessible and relaxed and friendly and all this. I wound up, it was a great job. I wound up, the year I got married, I wound up working 4 days, 1 day a week. So I was there in Hawaii for a month, basically a month vacation in Hawaii, working rarely and just having fun. But one day after I met him, we just worked at one little scene. A week later, I'm in Hawaii, I don't know anybody, I'm walking in a parking lot, I hear my name called out, I'm looking around, I don't know, who do I know in Hawaii? I keep walking, I hear my name again. Tom Selleck pulls up in a Jeep to ask me how's it going? Am I doing okay? Is the hotel fine? Am I having fun? I was blown away. You know, he had to not only call, I didn't even hear to turn. He had to actually, you know, drive up and stop me to have that conversation. And it was just one of those nice things I'll never forget. It was generous.
Incredible. I love that story.
It was like one of the first, you know, it was probably like the third or fourth job I had in my life.
He's just tooling around on his day off. He spots you, who he's met one time.
Yeah.
I love that.
Just a good guy.
That's perfect. That's perfect ending. Clint, I appreciate your time, brother. It is great stories. Good catching up with you. And keep up the good work. How do folks get a hold of you?
Probably my website, just www.clintcarmichael.com. You can see my stuff. Contact me through that.
And you can check out his reel, his comedy reel, drama reel. He's keeping folks up to date on his projects. We didn't even get to that other stuff.
Producing stuff like that, yeah. Doing that more now.
ClintCarmichael.com. Check that out. And again, thanks for your time. This is Pete Koch breaking it down.